Hi, I'm Pam, and I would like to welcome you to the Live Authentically show. My team and I help other people step into their authentic realities, and we do this a number of different ways. This podcast is one of them. We also have a Facebook group of like minded people committed to spiritual growth and transformation, and we can be found at liveauthentically.today/FB. I'm also super pumped that I recently launched my first book. It's called SOAR, SOAR. Thank you. And it's an experiential journey through a transformative event in my life and shows how I partnered with the universe to create my new reality. I am super excited that on my show today, I have with me Robert Riopel. Hey, Robert.
Hey Pam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Super happy. It's Friday. Happy Friday. Happy weekend.
Is there even such a thing as weekends anymore?
So I'm super excited to have you on my show. Robert has much to share with us today. Just so you guys all know, success is his middle name, and he's going to tell us all about how he does this amazing work in the world. But before we launch into that, I'd like to start my show off with the same question that I ask all of my guests. And that question is, okay, are you ready? Well, that's not the question, but like, yes, I'm ready. I nailed it.
Yes.
What does it mean to you to live authentically every day?
Oh, that's an awesome question because
Yeah.
one of my passions is to help, especially trainers, be more authentic on stage. And to me, authenticity is just being you fully. Because when you're you, one or two things is going to happen. Either people are going to like you or they don't. And if they like you, that's awesome. If they don't, that's awesome. Because there's over 8 billion people on the planet, and I was a world-class people pleaser
Mhm.
and realized trying to please everybody, oh my goodness, I'm so tired, just like it's so tiring and draining. And picture this, Pam. If I really wanted someone to like me, I became like that little puppy dog. They're like, oh, please, like me, like me, like me. And when I would do
Okay.
that,
Yeah.
they would usually like frustrate and they'd be like, get away from me.
Mhm.
So yeah, to me, just being you, whatever that looks like. And even if that means if you're having a bad day, don't try and cover it up.
Mhm.
Allow the energy out that you're having a bad day. Don't suppress it, because suppressing it is just going to cause more turmoil and stuff.
Mhm. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So when you were talking about just putting yourself out there, and if you're having a bad day, just letting people know that. I mean, there's obviously courage involved in that, and there's vulnerability. So let's talk a little bit about how vulnerability is a big piece of being authentic.
Yeah. So many people look at vulnerability and they say, you can't be vulnerable. That's like weakness. You can't show weakness. And I've come to learn that vulnerability is probably one of the biggest strengths that you can have. And you're so right that it does take courage. Look how conditioned we are. So you're walking along and you see someone, you're like, hey, how are you? And you go, great. And then you walk by and inside you're going, no, I'm not. Why did I just say great? Why did I tell them that? When inside you could have said, well, I'm not having the best day. And of
Yeah.
course, then our mind goes, but what if they can't handle that? Oh my goodness, if I say that to them and they can't handle it. So we try to edit the way we're doing to protect others. But it doesn't do any good to us because we're suppressing that emotion instead of allowing it to come out. And I'm not saying you have to be a jerk. I'm not saying you have to be, like, oh my God, I'm having a terrible day. It could just be, someone says, hey, how are you doing today? You say, it's not the best, but I appreciate you asking. And the conversation may not allowing yourself to actually authentically express truly in the moment how you really feel. It does take courage.
Mm-hmm. And what are the benefits to being vulnerable
Well,
for the
here's the thing.
person sharing and for the other person?
Yeah. Well, do you have people in your life that you care for, Pam?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when they actually let you know how they're doing instead of hiding it, doesn't that make you feel awesome that they trust you enough to say, wow, I'm not doing the best right now? That
Yeah.
they feel secure in the relationship they have with you. See, to me, that's a huge benefit right there.
Mm-hmm.
But also because I look at emotion, and it's one of the things that I've taught all over the world is emotion, energy and motion. It's
Mm-hmm.
meant to come in and go back out.
Mhm.
come in and go back out. And where the issue comes is when it comes in and it goes to go back out, but we hold it and we suppress it. So all of a sudden it comes up with more intensity. And so we suppress it more. And all of a sudden we get in this big tug of war until finally that emotion, that energy will come up with such intensity, we can't hold it back anymore. And it comes out in weird ways. Or it manifests in the body into different feelings, diseases, whatever it is. So just, having the willingness to express yourself authentically, not only will you see a benefit, but the people around you, from my experience, and that's all I can come from, the people around you will see that, this is a person I really either want to get to know, or maybe they say I can't handle that energy from them. And then that saves you the time and energy of having to try to be someone else for them. Because
Mhm.
that's, trying to remember, I think one of the greatest pieces of advice a mentor ever gave me. He said, Robert, when you're on stage, be the person you were on stage that you were off stage. So that if you ever meet a student somewhere in the world, you're not trying to remember who to be. And
Yeah.
how much energy do we spend trying to remember, okay, I'm going to be with this person today. Who am I supposed to be with them? Right. Okay, now I'm with
Yeah.
this person. Who am I supposed to remember to be with them?
Yeah.
That's exhausting even thinking about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say exhausting. We said it at the same time. Yeah, exactly. And like you said, you step forward in the world as you, be you, and like you said, it's okay. Some people are going to like you, and some people aren't. And the good news is that, like you said, there's over 8 billion people in the world, and your tribe will find you. You'll find your tribe. There are plenty of people to go around. And I think when people take that expansive view, that it's okay, not everybody is for everybody, right? This is all,
Right.
and so many times we take things personally, but it's really all happening on a vibrational level. So can you talk about that a little bit, kind of the energetics behind this?
Oh, yeah, and I love what you just said, because here's what I've noticed, that when I quit trying to please everybody, all
Hmm.
of a sudden I'm amazed and I'm blown away every single day by the people that are actually attracted to my energy
Hmm.
for who I am.
Yeah.
And some days I'm like, how did I end up being able to have a conversation with that person? How did I attract them into my life? And then I remind myself, quit trying to figure it out, because it is, if you want to get into technical terms, law of attraction, there's something called entrainment. And entrainment means two like energies coming together, which is all that law of attraction is. And so our vibration that we're putting out in all areas. And to me, successful people is not just financial. It's mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and financial. You want to be able to have a consistent, congruent vibration in all those areas, because if you're not, you're sending out mixed messages. And so by being the authentic you, again, I believe the greatest gift anybody can give this world is to be you and just
Hmm.
show up that way. And now all of a sudden that vibration's going out, and you're going to attract the people into your life that are in alignment with it, that say, hey, this is the kind of person I want to be near. And be ready to just be pleasantly surprised. And
Hmm.
I'll give you an example. I was training when I first started training in 2004. I did my first full-on training all by myself, 1,200 students, 3 days, weekend, 12 hours a day on stage. And I had a blast. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, in the next 4.5 years, I ended up doing over 200 multi-day trainings around the world. And I started being known to be a host, and people like to have me as a guest. Now, I got burnt out because I started living my passion too much.
Okay.
And yes, I want your listeners to understand that you can overlive your passion. I'm traveling all over the place and I'm giving, 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 but I forgot to replenish. So I got burnt out. I
Hmm.
didn't take care of my health. I ended up going through 2 back surgeries. I actually had to take 3.5 years off just to regenerate. And just before my back surgeries, all of a sudden a friend reached out to me and said, Robert, we're running an event. We need you to host the event. And I'm like, guys, I'm in bed. I can't get out of bed.
Hmm.
And at this point, I was 5 weeks in bed when I couldn't move.
Oh.
I couldn't do anything. And so they said, we really need you. If you do feel better before the event, we would love for you to host. And I'm like, why is this so important? I'm not training right now. I'm actually taking a break. And they're going, well, I know that, but we've got all the presenters. We need you as the host because of the way you hold the stage and hold the audience. And I'm like, out of curiosity, I'm like, okay, who do you have? Who are the presenters? And they said, well, we have the Dalai Lama coming. They actually list off 18 of the most amazing thought leaders on the planet. And Pamela, you know how powerful your mind is, right? And I'm a huge believer in the law of attraction.
Yeah.
Well, I ended up months ahead getting, of when it was scheduled, getting the call for my first back surgery. And ended up being a week and a half or 2 weeks before the event. So I went in and I had the surgery, a microdiscectomy, walked in pain, walked out feeling amazing. So the first call I made was, guys, if you still need me to host, I'm in. Because I was trying, instead of trying to figure out how did I attract it, I just said, thank you for bringing this into my life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on a side note though, Pam, if a doctor tells you to do something for your healing, listen to them. I didn't take care of myself at the training. I thought sitting down was the best thing for me. So as soon as I'd be off the stage, I'd sit down, not realizing it put twice the pressure on my lower back. Okay. And 2 days after the event ended, I re-herniated the same disc and ended up back in the hospital for the second operation. So, yeah. So, but hey, I attracted getting to meet the Dalai Lama. So Richard Branson, F.W. de Klerk, Stephen Covey Sr. in one of his last presentations. And do you know who F.W. de Klerk is? Do you know that name? Because probably he was one of the, even over and above Richard Branson and the Dalai Lama, listening to him empowered me more. He was actually the president of South Africa that set Mandela free. And listening to his words and his story just was mind-blowing. And being the host, I got to meet them all in the green room and have conversations with them. And so when you're authentically you, watch who that attracts in your life and be ready to be amazed. Because it will, and I don't know if your listeners experience this, but I go through self-doubt. I go through low self-esteem. And people are like, but you're on stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people. I'm like, yeah, but I still have the same crap going on in my life. So my first initial thoughts are, who am I to have attracted that person in my life? Who am I to have this? And I've learned to quickly catch it and say, you know what? I'm me.
Yeah.
That's all I can be. And so if this is who I'm meant to meet, again, thank you.
Yes, I love that. Gratitude first. One thing that you mentioned on that I want to have you expound on a little bit more is this whole idea of, tempering your passion and really pacing yourself and viewing this as a marathon and not a sprint. Because I think it's so common, for people who are in areas doing work that they're passionate about, whether it's, mentoring or speaking or coaching. I mean, it's exhilarating, right? It's exhilarating when you're making, having positive impacts on other people and you want to keep giving, but that sometimes comes with a price, right? The price is overwhelm, exhaustion, burnout, etc. And I see that. I mean, I too have to kind of pull back the reins a little bit and temper myself a little bit, and kind of remind myself that we do need to have harmony, and there's enough time for everything, but we have to do it in a balanced way. I see it with executives that I work with, just dealing with just working a lot and being overwhelmed, etc. So I'd love to hear some words of wisdom around how to temper that and how not to let yourself get sucked into your passion too much.
Yeah, and one of the things that I would say, and it kind of came up with at the beginning of our talk and in your introduction when you're talking about surrounding yourself with like-minded people. I used to be a huge believer in that. And I'm going to clarify, because it was only a year ago that a mentor of mine gave me a kind of a paradigm shift around that. Okay. Because from stage, I would be always, aren't you amazed to be surrounded by a room full of like-minded people? And everybody's like, yeah. And I like, exactly. But here's what he said to me. He said, so Pam, let's say you and I, we decide we want to go to the mall. So we walk down to the bus stop and there's 3 other people at the bus stop and we're all waiting for the bus to take us to the mall. Well, in that moment, we're all like-minded. We're waiting for the bus and the bus is only going to take us to the mall. That's it.
Yeah.
He says, what you want to do is, he says, you want to surround yourself with growth-minded people. And the difference between a like-minded person and a growth-minded, a like-minded person is going to be kind of the same energy and you're all thinking the same thing. Mm-hmm. But a growth-minded person is going to be the person that's willing to have the conversations with you that might be tough. Mm-hmm. Like my wife is the greatest gift in my world, because she's not willing to let me play smaller than I am, as an example. left to my own devices, I have no problem admitting I'd be comfortably miserable in a job. But
Mm,
because of my upbringing, I was taught you go get a job, you stay loyal, even if you hate the job, if it's secure, you keep it. And so that was the way was going into life. And she started painting the picture of, no, we can actually create a life better for us. I'm like, no. She goes, well, why not? Well, because that's not how it's done, right? Because I was such an in-the-box thinker. And
yeah.
so she's the one that's willing to sit there and say, look, you're playing too small. Even if it means giving me a kick in the ass sometimes,
Mhm.
because I'm my own worst enemy, just like most people are.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the balance, though, so have growth-minded people, because they'll be there to lift you up when you're down, but they'll be also there to push you along when you are stumbling, or they'll be willing to tell you you're being a jerk if you're being a jerk. Those are the people I want in my life.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then the other thing I noticed, and I learned personally on the balance, is when I was overliving my passion, that was bad. Because I got burnt out, went through health issues. But I went from that, and in 3.5 years I took off, I went from overliving it to not living it at all, which
Oh,
is just as bad.
yeah.
Because all of a sudden some of the old negative, non-supportive habits started coming back in.
Hmm.
And when whether you want to go by universe, God, whatever higher power you want to go by, when I got the message that, Robert, you better start training again.
Hmm.
And, because I was attacked by a dog that lunged for my throat. And luckily, it didn't get my throat, it got my chin. But the
Hmm.
big lesson, where it ripped through my chin, my big lesson was 1 inch further, it would have got my jugular and
Oh,
my gift would have been gone. And
yeah.
it brought me back to a universal principle that says that which is not utilized is eliminated.
Wow.
And I had not been utilizing my gift, even though I said I'm going to take 1 year off. Well, 1 year turned into two, two turned into three. So all of a sudden I've been getting the messages, and that dog was a powerful message. I went, thank you, don't need any more. I don't have to speak again for the money. I need to speak again because it's my gift. And I
Mhm.
choose not to have it eliminated, if that makes sense. And so over living, not good. Not living at all, just as bad. So when I decided to come out of retirement, I wanted to have balance. But
Mhm.
most people, Pam, they think balance is like everything's perfect. It's like, oh, everything's just love. But that's not reality. What I've noticed for me is balance is everything's always changing. So balance is making those adjustments,
Mhm.
making those adjustments. So when I was asked to come out of retirement, I said, here's the deal. Instead of doing 40 to 50 full-on trainings a year, I will do 20 maximum. So
Mhm.
that no matter where in the world I do a training, 6 months off, because that's 8 years, that's exactly what I've done. I've averaged 19, 20, 21 live events around the world per year, being able to be home.
Mhm.
Now, of course, that's even changed because of the time we're in. And
Sure.
so my wife and I just are in the completion of building a studio off the back of our house. We broke ground in December, and it'll be ready this next week, where now my students will come see me, because that's allowing me to have even more balance.
Yep. Yep. Oh, I love that. I love that. I would love to hear more about your public speaking and what you do, worldwide, the work that you do. Do you do a lot of speaking around your book? I mean, there's so many places I want to go. I'll kind of turn it over to you to tell me kind of high level what you do. So many different areas we could go, but I'm dying to hear about
Yeah.
your book. So yeah, tell me a little bit about your speaking.
Well, for the last 18 plus years, I've been doing the trainings that changed my life.
Mhm.
My wife and I, we were $150,000 in debt, Domino's Pizza franchisees, but not our spending habits and our mindset around money was not good at all. And that's why we were deep in
Okay.
debt. And we were introduced to a 3-day program by T. Becker, and I don't know if you've ever heard of him, and called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And that
Okay.
3-day weekend changed our life because we learned why we were in debt because of our spending habits and where those beliefs came from. B, we took ownership that we were the ones responsible for the debt,
Mhm.
not blaming anybody else. And then C, we learned some very practical skills on how to create financial success. And from that 3-day weekend back in 2001, we ended leaving still stressed out and over 150,000 in debt, but with new actions to take.
Oh,
And we put those actions into place, and we actually went from being in debt to actually completely retired, financially free 9 months later. when we were 32 years of age. And our minds went, that worked. And so that's where I found my passion, was to teach, because I believed if I could even help one person do what my wife and I had accomplished, it'd make it all worthwhile. So I started contracting out, and I became the first protege of that gentleman, Taylor Becker. And for the last 18 plus years, I've been teaching his material around the world. And that's when I started noticing what was working for people and what wasn't. Difference between successful people and non. And I created my book, Success Left a Clue. In reality, I created it for me, because the 6 steps I put in there are what's helped me allow myself to have the life I truly love today. And I noticed that if I'm going through this, other people probably are at the same time. And so I decided to write the book, and I go through 6 very, and here's the thing, simple steps, because I don't want people to let the simplicity fool them. There's simple steps, but it still takes the action. And step number 3 is actually take action, because that's a huge difference. You know, people that are successful, they take action. They make a decision, they take action. Unsuccessful people, they sit there and they go, oh, that was a good book. And then they read it and they put it up on the shelf, and it becomes shelf help. And they wonder why their life doesn't change. So you've got to take action. And so the first step is dream big. Not just to dream again, but to dream big. And I'll put it like this, Pam, when you were a child, did you ever dream and have dreams?
Oh yeah, always.
And what was possible for you? What did you think was possible as a child?
Oh, anything. I was
exactly.
Like, absolutely anything.
Yeah. But what happens to most people when they start growing up? All of a sudden it's like, you don't have the right education.
Yeah.
You weren't born into the right family.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden society starts to knock away the dreams. So it's about dreaming big again. The second step is to find a mentor, someone to model. And unless you're a Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, chances are whatever you want to do, someone else has done it before you. So find out how they did it. Well, Robert, the people I want to mentor from, they may not even be alive anymore. Well, great. See if they have a biography. I love biographies, because I don't want to just see the end result. I want to know their journey.
Yeah.
I want to know how they got to where they were. So find their biographies, read them or watch them, see if they have a program that teaches their system. And then, but the biggest part is step number 2. And this is the part that I really found changed my life. Instead of just looking for a mentor or someone to model from, also ask yourself this question: who can I be a mentor to? Who can I be a model? And the first kind of objection I get from people, they go, oh, Robert, I haven't accomplished anything. Who am I? And that's exactly the point. You are you, and you've done something, and you don't have to be perfect at it. You don't have to be a huge success at it, but you have a gift to share back. And so ask who you can mentor and be a model to, and help person. And that's perfect. So that's the key, is not just who can I mentor from, but who can I be mentored to. Step 3, as I said, was take action. I love the quote that says, one step in the right direction is worth 1,000 years of thinking about it. And most people get paralyzed by analyzing everything. Step number 4 is one that I find sabotages most people's success, especially people who are good at stuff. They miss step number 4, and that's how they sabotage. And that's celebrate. Celebrate your successes. Every day I start with a success journal. At least 5 successes I write down. Over the years, it's morphed. It's now a success or gratitude journal. And what am I grateful for in my life? It starts my day off great, right? Yeah. So celebrate who you are. And understand it's not about ego or arrogance. You celebrate to build your confidence. Because step number 5 is believe in yourself. How many people beat themselves up relentlessly?
Right.
You know, that saying that if you had a friend that treated you the way you treat yourself, they wouldn't be your friend for very long. But yet we take it from ourselves. And so be more gentle, you know, work on the belief in yourself. And then step number 6 is kind of surprising people because it's a funny one. It's just repeat the first 5 steps.
I love that.
Because when you do, if you think about it, when you dream, if you find a mentor or someone to model, you take action, you celebrate it, it increases the belief in yourself, which allows you to do what? set bigger dreams,
Mm-hmm.
find greater mentors, take greater actions, have better celebrations, have more belief in yourself. And it becomes a beautiful perpetual cycle that you end up going in. So
Yeah.
those are the 6 steps. And the book, when I wrote it, I didn't want it to just be that book that people read and put up on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
I made it a workbook. I
Oh.
actually have in there action steps. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, do this action. Do not read any further until you've completed this action. And
Okay.
then the next chapter starts with, did you do the last action? If not, stop reading right now, go back and do that action. Because people are creatures of habit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. What did you learn most about yourself while writing the book?
And I'm a procrastinator.
Okay.
I, I am. It took 15 years from the moment I said I wanted to write the book to when I did, and we launched it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I realized I am a procrastinator.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, I beat myself up over that. But then I now embrace it. And I have a little quote I use for myself. And I say this: design your day in such a way procrastination cannot play.
Okay.
And so instead of beating myself up now saying, oh, you're a procrastinator, I on purpose, because I'm aware of it, I can say, hey, that's part of me. This is authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, trying to say, no, I'm not, no, I'm not. You know what? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And understanding that, how can I work with it? Not
Mm-hmm.
beat it, not overcome it, work with it. And so one of the things I do is on purpose, I will schedule meetings and calls for first thing in the morning. Because if I make a commitment to someone, I'm carrying through on it.
Yep.
And I will be up. And then as soon as I'm up and my day's going, procrastination's not playing anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
see, if I have a day where I can sleep in, you better believe I'm going to sleep in, because I'm going to sit there and I'm going to go, oh, yeah, I don't have another meeting for another half an hour. Give you 20 more minutes on that snooze button. And just so you know, Pam, I am a snooze button ninja. I am a snooze button ninja. I have got it so down, I can just like hit that button and I know. Because have you ever noticed, and maybe it's just me, but have you ever noticed the 9 minutes between the snooze button for the alarm going off and going off again, that 9 minutes of snoozing, have you ever noticed that seems to be some of the best sleep you get all night?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, 9 more minutes of good sleep.
Yep.
I was like, me. And I can even sneak up on that button. Like I subconsciously know it's about to go off and my finger's right there. I'm that snooze button ninja.
Jack in the good sleep segments. I love it. I
Right.
love it. I can totally relate to what you said about the procrastination. And that's something that I've had to work on a lot myself in my journey, to really assimilate that and incorporate that into who I am. And rather than resisting it and fighting it and trying to relegate it and, just get it out of my system, really just work with it and realize, this is just part and parcel of how I operate. And I'd encourage everyone to do that and to really find the silver lining, find the gem in that. Because for me, I realized that some of my best creative work came when I procrastinated. I mean, not when I,
Yes.
backed myself up against a wall and made it impossible, but I've cranked out some of my best content when I have procrastinated and I've created that creative pressure and given myself like just enough time. It was almost like I didn't realize it, but my subconscious like knew when it was time to really put the pedal to the metal and kick.
Yes.
And so now I've come to really just accept that and just allow it to flow in and realize that this is how I operate. So I'm curious if you have experienced something similar to that. And
Absolutely. And that's the key of if you think about this, you will use the amount of time you have to do a task.
Mhm.
So if you give yourself 4 hours, you're going to find a way to use all 4 hours. If
Yep.
you give yourself an hour, you can do the same thing in that hour. So this is where on my calendar, I love to have what I call my productive time.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people, the reason they get into that, I've learned that they get into, say, procrastination or overwhelm, is they get really good at, they're like, Robert, I'm so busy. I don't have time for anything else. And there's a difference between being busy and being productive.
Mhm.
And so what you just described there is when you get into a productive zone. And so what I'll do to, again, not try to eliminate it, but work with it and realize it, is when my wife and I do a calendar, the first thing we put on the calendar is our balance pieces. The things that allow us to rejuvenate us, they go on first. We're paying back to ourselves first. So time together, time alone, time with family, exercise, whatever it is that makes us feel great to be able to do what we do. So
Yeah.
we schedule that in first, and then I'll go in and I'll put in productive times. So as an example, I'm writing my new book now. And so I know I want to have time to do that. And if I sit there and go, okay, honey, I'm going to write the book, I'm going down to my office.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll keep my focus time to about an hour. And so I'll sit there 10 to 11. I'm now going to write my book. Everything else is shut off. My wife knows that I'm in the zone for that hour. And in that hour, I will get more accomplished than 8 hours of just being busy. And
Wow.
so when people are like, I'm really busy, I'm going to say to them, okay, let's get you productive, because you'll be amazed at how much time it frees up for you,
Mm-hmm.
where actually you can reduce the stress, you can reduce the overwhelm. And so that's how I set my calendar up, again, as a way of working with, knowing myself, working with that.
Yeah, I love that. And that, it just shows you how powerful that focus is, that focused attention, that focused energy. Because I too, I mean, I realized I used to think multitasking was really efficient. And now I've realized how incredibly, inefficient it is, because it really does. I guess I just discounted how much energy it takes to really shift gears, right? To shift gears from,
Exactly.
being in the creative space to, all the different tasks that we do during the day.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. And that's exactly it. And having that self-awareness and being willing to be real with yourself,
Yeah.
again, comes back to authenticity, right? The
Hmm.
more you're willing to be real with yourself. I
Yep.
could sit there all day long and say, I have amazing hair. But until I'm real and I say, look, no, I'm aerodynamic, no matter how much I say I have amazing hair, it's not going to make my hair grow. It just isn't, right? But yet our mind will try and tell us that, because, well, if I believe it enough, it'll happen.
Mhm.
And think of what Napoleon Hill wrote, what your mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. Well,
Mhm.
now, if I put it to the test of truly going, A, do I want hair again? Well, then what am I willing to go through to have it? Because I can achieve it if I truly believe I want it,
Mhm.
right? So there is a difference there. But most people, they get into thoughts of, well, I should be able to accomplish it. I should be able to accomplish it. And it's like they're not being real with themselves.
Mhm.
And I'm always looking back I want to be clear with people, because I've learned a lot of this stuff through making a lot of mistakes and or having failures. But I'm not a believer in failures, because to me, it's feedback. I learned what didn't work. And that's why, whether I'm doing stuff on my own or I'm with my team, we're always asking three very powerful questions when we complete something. What worked? And we make a list of it. What did not work? And we
Mhm.
make a list of it. And then
Mhm.
the third question is, what can we do different? See, so we'll look at what didn't work, and instead of going and beating ourselves up over it, we'll say, okay, this didn't work and this didn't work. We keep it real. And
Mhm.
then we say, so based on that, what are we going to do different next time? Well, let's do this. Let's make this adjustment. Let's make that adjustment. And
Mhm.
it may not work again, but because we go through the questions, we can say, well, that didn't work. So what other adjustment can we make? And this allows us, again, to be productive instead of being negative and non-supportive of ourselves and others, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, super powerful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So much good stuff here, and I wish we could do a deep dive on all of it. But so we're coming up on the end of our interview here. But before
Already?
Correct.
Oh.
I was going to say, I know, I'm so bummed. I could talk to you all day long. But before we do that, I'd like to give you a couple minutes to kind of open it up and allow you to talk about whatever it is that you think would add value to our viewers and listeners' lives.
Oh, well, thank you for that. To me, every time I autograph a book and every time I send an email, it's always signed the same way. Always live with passion.
Oh, I love that.
And, I love to enjoy life, and life's too short, in my opinion, not to have fun.
Yeah.
And when, times are serious or what have you, if you've allowed yourself to have fun in life and experience it, um, man, there's four currencies I teach people, and the one currency is the currency of experience.
Hmm.
I don't want someone to get to the end of their life and look back and go, what did I do?
Hmm.
Who really was I? Because they're so far in the future trying to figure things out, or so far in the past living on past pains. I want them to experience every single day,
I
to be
love.
as present as they can, And if you do that and you live with passion, I'm not saying life's going to always be easy, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to have a much more fulfilling life if you do that.
Beautiful, beautiful words of wisdom. Thank you. Well, thank you
My
so much
pleasure.
for being here. It's been such a delightful, insightful conversation. Thank you. And if people would like to get in contact with you directly, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, they can follow me on Facebook. I have a fan page. Just put my name in, Robert Riopel, and you'll see the fan page. And actually, I'd love as a gift for you being having me on your podcast. My book, Success Left a Clue, is I would love for people to actually get the ebook version of it as our gift to them, as long as they use it, not just read it,
Yeah.
but they'll be able to download it just by going to robertriopel.com, and they'll be able to download the book and then use it as our gift, as a way of saying thank you and design a life. Use the 6 steps to really design the life you truly want.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you again for being here. I really appreciate your time and for you sharing your wisdom with all of us today. Thank you. And
My
thank
pleasure. Thank you, Pam.
You're welcome. And thank you to our viewers and listeners. I am grateful for you. As you well know by now, I believe that time is a choice, and I'm grateful that you've carved time out of your day to be here to listen to everything that Robert has had to share with us today. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Bye.